Hi everybody, and welcome to Let's Build. This is Ava's house. We've hit 20,000 simoleons, which was the rule in the challenge. So Ava from the Homeless University Challenge, about 20 episodes in, is getting herself a house. So as you see right now, I'm just putting down the general layout, trying to figure out exactly how big I want it to be in the space that she has. I don't recall the direct space of her lot. It is a square, so it might be a 30 by 30. It could be a 40 by 40, but I didn't think it was that big. But it does come out to be quite a lot of space. I managed to use a lot of her. I think it was like $13K for the outside of the house, and for a little bit of the furnishings inside was like $4,000. So she's still definitely going to have quite a wall to climb over after we built this place. But I'm super excited to put together her house, finally. And it's the first time in a while I've built something a little bit more modern to actually kind of have a modern house to look at instead of all of the things I have together for my Test of Time challenge, which can just be ancient or whatever. So I actually bothered with putting up siding. Usually I, hate siding, not because I'm lazy, but it is really difficult if you get the color wrong to go back and change it again. And I just don't care for the look of it in general. I really like brick and some other things, so you'll notice a lot of builders will have their own favorite look. I did play around with the windows a lot here, so that's what I'm doing. Notice her cop car is still sitting proudly outside. She's definitely still going to be stealing things after this, but it worked out just perfectly to be able to build her a house because her boyfriend, who she's hoping to get married to and start a family with, has just started his journey to visit her. So he's actually never seen where she lives or anything because they met in college. And it looks like she's going to have a house right in time for him to come and visit her, which is just epic. So it's super cool. I love how the igloos that she built are still outside. And you'll see once I put this together, she still can't afford to have a bed. So for the size of this house to cost, I would say about 13,000 simoleons, and then before the furnishings, I think is actually pretty significant. Seeing as it's pretty sizable for what would normally just be a starter house, I felt like it was larger than that. So really happy with the overall results. Unusual shape for me. Usually I'll just put a couple of boxes together, which is sort of what I did for this, but it has the symmetry that I like. I was able to lay down some groundwork a little bit later on in the video here. And in case you're curious, I do play these through at about 5 times the speed of how long the build took. So this build took about 45 minutes, and I can run it through for you here in about 8, which is, I think, very significant. I also get meticulous about the colors, so you'll notice as I go through, once I decide on what windows and all of that to use, that I end up changing everything to get to be the right color. And if you can see right now, I'm actually just sort of trying to make sure that she gets to keep all of her rare and weird trophies, because she did steal them from around the town, and it's not the kind of thing she's about to just build for herself. And right now I think I was trying to reconcile having a driveway with the look of the house in general. So I just kind of put the cars off to the side to see how everything would look first. I was able to achieve a really nice dark, that's one of the volcanic patterns. It came, I think, that stone there came from Aurora Skies? I don't know, that doesn't sound right. But it is definitely store content. There's a lot of really great rock that you can just put down as a painting, though. If you're tempted or your sim doesn't have a lot of money to pay for tiling, you could consider putting down just some ground paint because it is free. So doing that for the look outside of the house or even for patios is a really nice way to go if you just want to have like an outdoor space that feels a little lived in. That's it in the snow, which I love. I love the igloos, and I love the fact that she got a house in time for Christmas and the holidays, so we can have, hopefully they can have a holiday party after this, which I would love. But this is just the general process. Again, I'm going through setting up a fence to see if that will be possible, and I end up playing around with the fence quite a bit because I loved the look of all of the white and black together. And I was sort of determined to make it work with the very few possessions that she already had. This is also going to, of course, make everything a lot more expensive for Ava, but we can worry about that later, right? She's still allowed to steal a little bit. She doesn't really have a proper job or a day job. I don't think she knows what that is. So, well, she's an investigator, but she's basically a not professional snoop at this point. So Oh, I don't know if this is the kind of house for an investigator, but I thought it would be fitting if she makes a living sneaking into other people's homes that she has a fence up so that people can't sneak into her home. Also, the last episode, if you watched it, she was out at a friend's house and stealing their car or whatever, and somebody stole something from her at the same time. I'm just playing around with trees right now to find out what fits the look of the lot. Some of them I like the color, but not the shape. Or I had, ironically, that little tree grate that she had stolen, and so I needed to find something that fit in the tree grate. And so there's a lot of little things that I put out just to see if they work, and in this case I decided against those trees. Played around with the different ideas, and I did finally settle on one that I quite liked. It was very thin, but very nice. And I really liked the overall look of it. And of course you gotta keep the igloos, because again, she can't afford a bed, but they look really awesome outside. I did try to avoid using cheats too much. I certainly didn't cheat on money or anything like that, but the few cheats you're noticing are probably the move objects one, which I have to toggle on and off whenever I put windows or doors, or especially like stairs and things like that in. You do not want to have the game think that there's a window and a wall or a door and a wall, because you'll get a graphical blur in that space. Let's see them putting in her windows that she created. But you'll get a graphical blur, and then you won't be able to have your sim go through doors and that, because it actually reads in the game as both, which they can't go through a wall, so of course they're not going to be able to walk through it. So I ended up with kind of a nice look despite having those very churchy looking windows. I wasn't sure how they were going to work out, and I really ended up liking them by the front door there. I wanted to give her sort of like an atrium on the way in, so a few more, maybe 9 or 12 spaces, but she just did not have the funds, so I'm sure that this is going to be an ongoing project, and the more that she gains funds, or maybe every 5,000 simoleons, she's allowed to change something around the house. But more likely than that, she's probably going to be buying something the second she can afford it. But again, I don't know. I really liked the overall look of the house. So I'd appreciate any opinions. And I think I'm going to go ahead and let you guys enjoy the rest of the build here. That was me getting a different, I think that's a different terrain paint there. I'm not sure. I wanted to have a little outdoor area where there could be something of entertaining, but also it looked like there was always something there, and I didn't have to just put up massive props, so that they could still kind of invite friends over or play tag, things like that when they have kids. So just playing around with the paints a little bit more. I am going to probably switch to some music here in a moment, because I think you've probably heard enough of me. But again, opinions are appreciated. I really loved the final look, and I really appreciate any final opinions that you have. And as I said, this is kind of an ongoing thing, so I'm sure I'll be able to adjust the house in the future. So if you have any great ideas, I don't care if it's an idea for a style of fence, I'll look it up. I'm always curious about those things, and it might just be what, it needs or was missing that we never knew about. So, but for her first home, I think it's pretty good. It's better than where I live. So with that irony in mind, I'm going to tell you guys to enjoy the rest of the build and sign out.